Thank you so much for having me today. I'm super excited to be at Product Elevation and share what has been my journey, I would say, in the last 18 months, where I explored in more detail the relationship between design operations and product operations. And what I'm going to share today is what are they and what can we do with them? I mean, do we need them? And why do we need them? And what is the benefit of having design ops and product ops in an organization and how we can implement them properly? So let's start by introducing myself. So I'm Pat or Patrizia Bertini. I work as a design operations leader. Currently, I'm head of design ops at TrueLayer, a UK-based fintech company. And I would say my journey was anything but linear. I started with accessibility and then I focused on GDPR and privacy. I'm an extremely curious person. I love experimenting, I love trying out new things. And this is how I discovered design operations. My background is research, and the more you do research, the more you learn about opportunities, and the more find out opportunities. But let's get started from the beginning. So why operations? And I would love to be in the room with all of you and see how many of you have heard of design operations and product operations. I think I would see a few hands rising. And actually, it's good that some hands should have be a reason because, well, the terms design ops and product ops have been around at least for nearly 20 years. These data are from Google Trends. And what I'm finding fascinating is, of course, Google Trends started collecting this data back in 2004. So we don't know exactly when was the very first appearance of the terms. But why product ops is very, very US centric. The utilization and the regions where product ops is utilized, it's as a term, is the US. If we look at design operations and design ops in particular, that's a little bit more widespread. So you see the US, you see Canada, you see UK, you see India and some regions. So fantastic. But what is both terms, design ops and product ops, are combined by the term design that indicates a discipline, that indicates a function, design and product, and the term ops, that of course is the shortened version of operations. And because I'm curious, I started looking at various definitions of operations that could make sense in this context. So operations is literally about transforming resources or data, the existing context, into a better situation, into a more desirable solution, into a more desirable outcome, in order to create value and to generate value for the people, to generate value, let's say so. So in a way, design operations and product operations are literally transformational disciplines. Their goal is to understand how a design and a product organization is working and making sure that all the waste, inefficiencies, and outcomes are analyzed and changed into a better outcome. It's all about understanding what are the opportunities to make things better in the product and design organizations to deliver more value. And the areas where transformations happen when we think about product ops and design operations is literally business processes. Think about managing the budget, think about managing third parties, managing the IT and the security aspect, managing the business and the technical infrastructure. Then we have a second area of transformation, which is literally the end-to-end and cross-functional workflows. In many organizations, hopefully I'm not saying anything new, the biggest issue is making sure that teams and cross-functional teams work in an effective and efficient way, and they can collaborate to generate collaboration, to generate value, and to generate products and experiences that are valuable for the users ultimately. And when we look at end-to-end experiences, it's important to understand that everyone in an organization is trying to do their best. When we have friction, and I can tell a lot of stories about the friction between marketing and design, product and design and engineering, not because design is a problem, but because I'm focusing, and my lens is the design operations lens. And the thing is, in many occasions, what is really preventing a seamless collaboration is processes that enable clarity and communication. And just to make you an example of something that I recently worked on, the biggest challenge for a team was having clarity over the briefs. So we had a percentage of rework of over 55%, which meant nearly half of the time a designer was spending on doing their work was about doing again something they already worked on, and not producing something new, but just making amends because the stakeholder changed their mind, because there was no clarity of the goal, because the scope of the project changed, the brief was unclear, wasn't completed, or maybe there was not a brief. So by creating a solid planning, prioritization, and resource allocation and briefing process, and forcing everyone to spend more time in planning and thinking about what they need from their cross-functional partners, delivering in a format that it's standardized and it's unified for everyone, institutionalizing meetings where every brief, every requirement is discussed, agreed, and all the cross-functional ideas are brought together around the table. We are reducing waste and increasing predictability, which is the rate that we know we have 10 projects per quarter and we deliver 10 projects. So we said operations transform the business processes, the end-to-end and the cross-functional workflows, and of course, the team culture and how the team grows, because we need a team that is motivated, it's engaged, that can see the future in the organization to produce great work. And we also said that operations is all about generating value. And when we say value, it's always about quantifiable value that is, it's about the business, the teams, and the team leaders. We have three main stakeholders when it comes to delivering value and where design operations is operating. And it's business, teams, and teams leader. And what we can say is that ultimately the biggest goal that any operations should be looking at is ambidexterity. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the term ambidexterity. An ambidextrous organization is an organization that is capable of streamlining and optimizing how they perform business as usual in order to generate opportunities and to generate the headspace and the time and the resources to invest in innovation. To share an example, in a previous company, we were wasting for every 2 weeks, for every sprint, roughly 2 days of a designer's time, because someone had to recruit, schedule, pay, and manage research participants in a fast-paced environment where you want to test everything. You test for really every single step of the journey with users. So bringing in 5, 6 users every 2 weeks to test the progress of a product team meant that a designer was spending 2 to 2.5 days uh, per sprint doing non-design work, which meant it didn't mean that they were spending 2 entire days, but it basically made everyone's time longer. The days were longer, so the attention span was dropping, because if you work long hours, of course your attention span drops. If your attention span drops, of course you will have a lower quality product, which will increase the rework rate I was mentioning earlier, which will also impact the relationship with cross-functional partners, because, hey, things are not going in the way we planned and there are delays. So by solving for that problem, which is literally business as usual, and we solved by introducing a person that could serve as a single point of contact to manage the BAU, the business as usual, and the recruitment, in 2 years' time, we created the equivalent of 4.5 full-time employee. So with that, by hiring one person, we created efficiencies and we saved the equivalent of 4 employees, 4.5 employees, which allowed the organization to come up with an innovative product and solution. Because we freed up time, we allowed a better understanding and a better working condition where teams could focus on innovation, and we allowed everyone to create and generate a new product that became an innovation in the industry. So ops, by looking at how we do business, by looking at how the organization is working from an end-to-end process point of view, and by looking at how teams collaborate and focusing on teams' growth and culture, is enabling these big business opportunities. And how do ops do it? So it's basically by doing three things. It's about creating processes that streamline complexity. It's about looking at the reality and understanding what is that can be improved to have the biggest impact on the organization, on the teams, and on the business, to make sure things can proceed. The second thing that operations do is turning best practices into actionable steps. Now, we all know that there are a lot of best practices everywhere, so it's all about how we make best practices a habit. How do we instill in everyone the idea that you do things in the right way? How do we make sure that the cognitive effort for a designer or a product manager to do something is as low as possible? Because the lower the cognitive effort to make the right thing, the easier someone will be doing the right thing. So by looking at how teams work, what is the end-to-end process, by focusing on creating journey maps that look at how design teams work and product teams work, what are the steps, what are the overlaps, this is where the best practices that we will be looking into shortly can become actionable steps and part of a process that can be defined, replicated, and run. And of course, the other thing that ops focuses on is reducing waste. When I say waste, I mean, if you think about the golden triangle, the 3 dimension, time, resource, quality, we need to deliver on all of 3 dimensions. Waste is not using the time properly. Waste is not using the resources properly. Waste is delivering solutions, products, ideas that are low quality, that are consuming resources and time, not to deliver business value. Because ultimately, ops goal is to generate quantifiable business value by changing the context, by looking at what are the opportunities there, what is happening in my team, in my organization, that I can impact with a better process, with embedding best practices so that things can run smoothly and we can deliver more value both to the business, to the teams, to the team leaders, and the user. We deliver products, we deliver experiences. If our customers are not happy, our business is not happy, and no one is happy. And we are surrounded by inefficiencies. I mean, there are a lot of invisible inefficiencies that have a very tangible effect on the way we work and the value that design and product teams generate together. And the most frequent causes that I have seen when it comes to inefficiencies is end-to-end ways of working are inconsistent. So you may have different squads working in different ways, using different tools, using different processes. Maybe the cross-functional collaboration is not optimized. So it's relying too much on personal relationship rather than on streamlined and defined processes. Maybe the teams don't have the right tools that actually add additional work and effort. Maybe there are no templates, so everyone is doing things in a different way, which means that if we have a user journey map from one product that is done with certain criteria that are not consistent with another product, we can't identify ways of understanding how our product is doing in a more holistic and more strategic way. Or basically, we don't have processes. So everyone is just allowed to create processes and ways of working. And the impact of all this, as I briefly mentioned before, is long working hours. Because if you waste time in chasing your stakeholder, if you don't have clarity on the briefs, if you don't know what are the right priorities for you to focus, if your stakeholders or cross-functional partners are not responsive and are not giving you the feedback that is needed, if you don't have the right tools and you need to make up things on the go, or you need to create templates every time, you increase the hours you work. And if you increase the hours you work, you increase the rework because your attention span will drop. We can't be productive 8 consecutive hours. No one can. We need to make sure we use the productive time of everyone in the best way. If we expect people to deliver too much, attention span will drop, quality will drop, tension with cross-functional partners will rise, quality will rise, there will be delay, and a lot of things. So I think I have touched things that nearly everyone here today have touched on, or at least heard of. If you haven't, please get in touch. I need to talk to you. And the reason why ops has become such a big thing is because all these things happen, and they happen constantly. And because organizations are made by people, they are living organisms, which means you solve one thing, but because it's a system, the problem may move around or change and evolve. So there's no situation where you could solve for everything, because people are phenomenal in solving problem and finding new problems. So there's always something. And this happens because in a lot of organizations now, it's become clear that the how we do things, which is what operations focuses on, is as important as the what. If you think about a few years back, everything was about the product vision and the design strategy and the product experience. So VPs of design, CDOs, CPOs were absolutely critical because they could drive the what, the product experience. But if there's no one on the background that has the ability to see that big strategic vision for the product and the product experience and create a process that enables that vision to happen, chances are to deliver that what it will cost way longer, way more than expected. So reducing the margins and reducing the profit and reducing the value of of the product. So what operations does is transforming the ways of working, enabling big product and design strategies to happen in the most streamlined, smooth way as possible. And just to give you some idea, because you may think that's too much. Actually, the few stats I've seen are quite appalling. Apparently, knowledge workers, and we can say what we do in product organization is knowledge worker, spend up to 60% of their time doing things that they haven't been hired to do and are not a part of their remit and their work, which means they focus 40% on the primary job and the rest 60% is spent in low-level admin task that has nothing to do with their job. And if you think that this is appalling, the next stat is even worse because this is a UK study, so take it as you like. Nearly 3 hours, less than 3 hours, is UK office worker productive time every day. So you see, there's a big opportunity for operations, right? So I've been talking a lot about the characteristics. Let's start defining operations. And I decided, because my background is design operations, to step a little bit more into the product operations side. And thanks to my lovely colleague, Trista, she kind of helped me through the best definitions of product ops. So from Melissa Perry, we can define product ops as the art of removing obstacle from evidence-based decision making. I love this because if evidence-based decision making is done right, it starts a spiraling of benefits and value generation that cascades down from the ICs to the executives and for everyone that is building the product. And the core focus for product operations are engineers, designers, or product managers. So I decided not to give you my definition of design ops, but to use and work with this definition. And if I have to define what design operations is the art of streamlining innovation and integrating empathy and user centricity into the workflows and into the ways of working. If done right, it fuels a virtuous cycle of benefits, not for who builds the product, but for who delivers the product experiences. And it's not only engineer, designer, or product managers, but also marketing managers or researchers. The task product ops and design ops do are pretty much similar. So you can see this splash of things. And probably where they diverge the most is design operations, because tends to focus on empathy, user centricity, owns a whole part that it's more about UX research, GDPR, data governance, and research recruitment policies that falls within the remit more than more than in product ops. While product ops is more about sharing or changes from inside to other business units, because in a product organization, decisions are made by product for the product. So product ops is probably the person that knows what is happening before anyone else and has the role to make sure everything is shared properly, everything is evident. And then you will see the shared task from defining policies, the roadmap, aligning cross-functional teams, planning, prioritizing, and resourcing projects, streamlining intelligence and task automations, educating on data if it's product, educating on empathy, it's design, it's the team culture, making sure we have playbooks, resources, all the teams are cross-functionally aligned, we have clear metrics and OKRs. So to say it in a very simple way, ultimately, ops role is to help cross-functional teams to operate efficiently and effectively to generate value and to make sure we are working as one unit, product and design, with all our partners. Now, the beauty is both product and design operations are part of, well, someone calls it triad, someone calls it trio. You have your name. So design, product, engineering. These is a strong unit that needs to work together to deliver quality products. The key differentiation here is that product operations spans into customer success, and it doesn't only work with design, engineering, but also customer teams, because it's critical for product ops to create learning loops and focus on experimentation. If product ops moves from design and engineering into customer success, design ops spans and stretches into marketing and brand, because the goal is to ensure the end-to-end user experience is consistent. The reason why, think about your experience with any product. Let's say Apple. We all know how shiny the Apple events are, the advertising, the in-store experience, the brand experience, and the brand promise is very clear. Now, if design doesn't work together with brand and product, the result is you have this shiny experience, but when you go into product, the experience may be totally different. So what's happening is, in effective design teams managed by design operations, you should have a streamlined end-to-end process where the user is at the heart of everything, and the user and design operations orchestrate and ensure that product and brand design teams work together to ensure we have an experience and a product that delivers on the brand promise and delivers consistent product experience. And ultimately, what we can say is that if product ops focuses on product managers and making sure that there's a clear product roadmap with clear OKRs and goals, design operations focuses on enabling a clear path to innovation. After all, this was the intro, actually. I have some serious slides because it's time to see what is actually happening in the product. What is that we have when we go into product experience, when we have product ops and design ops. So I'm sharing something that is nothing new for you, and hopefully nothing that should be seen as linear. So the problem of visualization is that you always visualize things in a linear way, even if they're not. So if we start thinking about, hey, how is it we can bring products in front of the people and customers, and how we can bring innovation, well, we have 3 steps, right? We need to understand the problem. We start with, hey, what do user want? This is the main question. Once we understood what the user wants, the next steps is asking yourself, is there a market for this? I mean, if this doesn't exist, is because there's no market, or because it's the wrong answer to the right problem? So the goal of the next step is building the right thing. So identifying, once we understood the problem, what is the right solution that can deliver an effective answer to that. But then the third step is, now that we know what the problem is, now that we know what is the right solution that the market wants, that we can generate value for the business, how do we bring this to the team fast? How do we build the thing right, avoiding waste? Now, some of you probably have seen that this is something that can be also explained like this. So the moment that we want to apply frameworks and they want to see what happens in the different stages, we know that when we want to understand the problem, we think about design thinking. When we want to understand if there's a market, we think lean startup. And when we think about delivering value at the customers fast, it's agile. All these three have one thing in common. They are iterative approaches, which means what I'm showing to you now in a linear way is a hyper simplification of something that is messy, and we all know it's messy, because every time you have a problem, you need to understand the problem to solve and go further in the process. So when we think about design thinking and we want to understand what is the problem, we focus on user centricity, we focus on generating innovation, on problem solving. And what design thinking delivers are solutions and hypotheses to be tested. And lean startup, it's where hypothesis-driven experimentation thrives. It's where we see the solutions that came out from the first step, the ideation part, and we test them to the market. And if they make it, then that's the time where agile comes into the game, to ensure that we have shorter development cycles to release faster and make sure we can keep testing, assessing, getting feedback, and making sure we deliver value to the users at speed. Although I'm in design, I'm horrible with design, so bear with the poor designs here. As I said, the process is not linear, and I'm just now looking at how the different roles are working into and what is the impact they are having on the different cycle. So again, thinking about the end-to-end product cycle, if this is where design thinking thrives, this is where design, this red shape, is having the biggest effort and the biggest impact, because identifying the problem, talking to customer, prioritizing things is where the design team is focused. It's where it brings the biggest value. Of course, when it comes to validating and running hypothesis-driven experimentation, design is still part of the journey, because hey, if there's a problem, we can go back and iterate and try to learn why there's not a market for this and answer questions around the why things are not working. So, and the more it goes on, the more the experimentations is giving the right results, the less the impact and the effort on design, until we get to the the handover to engineer, to the agile delivery managers or the team. So there's this kind of cycle, and this is a generalization, so it's kind of just to show the shape. But this is where it gets interesting, because if we bring product in and engineering in, things get interesting, because the product team has to be involved. Perhaps I could have started from here, in the whole discovery phase. It's driven by design, because design are the master of design thinking, but the product team needs to be part of those conversations to make sure they fully understand the context, so that they are better equipped to set up hypotheses and work. And you see the product team is a little bit smaller, so it's not the driver, probably it's a co-driver or a second in command, and it's really just next to the designer, and you will see that their effort and their impact becomes critical in defining what is the market solution. And this effort grows to the top, and then it goes and smooths down until it goes into delivery to the engineers. The really fascinating thing is that product really has a significant role in all stages. It's part and it orchestrates everything, and it drives the hypothesis, validation, and experimentation with design, and it's absolutely critical. But now the question you may have is, so what? If this is so easy, where does design ops come into play? And this is how design ops is coming into play, because design ops helps to orchestrate the processes that actually enable the exploration, the design thinking process to happen. So there's a lot of effort in the initial phase. So what do user want? And what design ops do for in this phase is, hey, defining the priorities, what someone calls research ops, enabling research through GDPR compliance, data governance, security guardrails, participant recruitment, making sure there are templates that make discovery simple, that make sharing the learnings simple, making sure there's a budget to run research and studies, making sure the teams have the tools to do the discovery phase. And of course, the more it goes into the market fit validation, into the hypothesis driven, the impact goes down, because, well, this is where product ops and design ops can work together, because there's workflows to be defined, how automation can be streamlined, budgeting for experiments, which sometimes can be challenging because it's not always clear if the budget for experiments comes from design or product, supporting with templates, having the right tools to run experiments, if you want to do a fake door test, or if you want to do a simple Google campaign to see what is the response rate for a new service, you need to have all the setups done for you. So, and then when it comes to managing the cross-functional relationship with engineering, when it's all about hand-holding. So in a way, design ops curve follows the design teams, but it partners heavily with product ops, because that's what they do. So what is a product ops do? They actually have the critical role to make sure design and design ops team have visibility on the product roadmap, because product roadmaps are mostly owned by the teams. It's important to make sure that we know the priorities, the business priorities, the metrics, the KPIs, what is that we want to achieve with the product, so that we can frame the problem in a way that enables the product vision and the business delivery. So of course, they effort, and again, I may have put it a little bit bigger here at the beginning, it's helping with assessing the feasibility of experiments, budgeting, assess tools, and creating those learning feedbacks. As I was mentioning, product ops tend to work closer with customer success or even sales, just because we need to keep assessing and learning from customers of new products, old products, new features, what is happening. So, and of course, implementing product analytics tool, sharing all this. And when it comes to managing the delivery phase, I mean, the Q&A is often a part where product ops works very, very closely with agile delivery managers and technical testing and all the cross-functional collaboration. So if I had to share in a nutshell, we can say that design ops and design teams own the design thinking part, but the lean startup, the hypothesis-driven experimentation is something that product drives with the support of design and design ops to make sure we streamline everything we want. Now, I've been playing with a little bit of frameworks, and you can also see things in this way, where we have in the double diamond the empathy and discovery phase, where we have design leading and team leading. The point where product and design teams work together is where the product is defined, the solution is defined, because after the definition of the solution, it's where product drives the experimentation and the hypothesis, so that we can then hand over the product to engineering, so that we can deliver to the user. So this is taking me to the final takeaways. Remember, I told you, why do we need them? Why do we need product and design operations? We need product and design operations because there are massive wins we can have. Because when product operations and design operations happen and work together, we have a product experience. We just don't deliver a product. We just don't deliver an experience. We deliver a product experience that gives a higher value to the users, that will make happier customers. The delivery process will be seamless because teams will be working well together. Processes will empower product teams and design teams to do the best. Best processes will reduce overwork, errors, iteration, waste, which will drive better life-work balance, happier designers, increased retention, and happier designers and happier product manager are also more productive. It's all really down to accepting and acknowledging that product ops, it's all about delivering products and reducing waste in the production process, and enabling and allowing design ops to focus on the consistency of the experiences through ideation and innovation. So product ops, it's about delivering the right product. Design ops is enabling the innovation and the ideation and the added value experiences that we can have in the organization. Both of them have their own metrics. So design operations and product operations have metrics that they share: the variance, the number of projects we deliver, the predictability, the lead time to deliver. These are metrics that are shared, but each of them has a set of metrics that are really specific to each of them. So product ops is responsible for product performance metrics like PRS, product recommendation score, CES, customer effort score, adoption rate, error rate, success rate. Design operations owns experience metrics, and experience metrics are divided into 3 categories. We have the drivers. So the experience drivers are the metrics that we use for brand, because if people are not attracted by the brand, they won't buy the product. So CSAT, customer satisfaction, NPS, brand consideration, those are metrics that design owns when it comes to experience drivers. Experience performances, so again, customer experience, customer effort score, adoption rate, error rate, time to completion. So how is a specific experience performing? And then we can also look at how every single touch point performance, with completion rate per feature, or even looking at micrometrics. How clear is the copy or the content of the documentation, depending on how granular you want to go. Great things only happen if product ops and design ops are working together, understanding what their team, the design team and the product team are doing, and joining efforts. Because, hey, it takes two to tango. So hope there was something new and something inspiring. I'm here for any questions, or just reach out anytime, and I will be glad to talk and learn from your questions. Thank you very much.